everyone, it's Laura from the blog artreallyhouse.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make a cold process charcoal soap bar. So this soap bar is going to be made, and then at the end we're going to add in some activated charcoal and swirl it into the soap to give it a lot of extra benefits. So if you aren't familiar with charcoal, it can have a lot of wonderful benefits for the skin, and it can help to gently detox the skin. So we're going to add that in to our soap bar. I've actually had lots of requests for this, so I'm excited to finally share it with you guys. Like all of my recipes, sometimes it takes a few tries for me to get it perfect, and I like to make sure that it's exactly right before I share it. So to start off, I'm going to be putting on my safety gloves here, also my safety goggles, because I'm going to be mixing together my lye and my water. If you're familiar with soap making, you know that lye is the ingredient that we have to be cautious with. So that's why I'm putting on this safety goggles and my gloves, and there's no children or pets or anything around. And so I'm just going to start off by measuring out my ingredients. Now I'll have the full recipe down in the description box below, so you guys can look at it there if you guys want to make this soap as well. So I'm gonna do 10.5 ounces of water. And you see here I'm just using a digital scale. That's the best way to measure out your ingredients. Now I actually got a little too much because I was looking at the camera when I did that. Let me see. Perfect. So I'm gonna pour that into a heat resistant container. And next I'm going to measure my lye. And for the lye, I'm gonna do 4.7 ounces. Okay. And now I'm just going to add that in here to my heat resistant container. I like to add it in slowly, and then I'm gonna stir it with this spoon. And it's really important to use a heat resistant container because you'll notice when you do this step that it kind of makes a chemical reaction that will heat up. And then I'm just going to stir this all together until the lye is dissolved in the water. And then we're just gonna set this aside to allow it to cool down before going on to the next step. All right, so for the next part of soap making, you're going to mix or melt some oils that we will then eventually mix in with the lye water. So I'm using some palm oil, some coconut oil, some castor oil, and avocado oil for this recipe. Now I will link a soap calculator down in the description box. And so if you want to use a different oil or fat than the ones that I'm using here, you can adjust the recipe with that calculator. So first I'm just gonna put a medium-sized saucepan on my digital scale and get it to the correct units, which is ounces, and just zero it out so it's not measuring the pot, but it'll just measure the oils that I add in, and then I'm gonna measure out my oils. So the first thing I'm gonna add in is 6 ounces of avocado oil. And now I'm going to do 4 ounces of palm oil. And then I'm gonna do 8 ounces of my castor oil. And now I'm gonna do 14 ounces of coconut oil. All right, so now I have all my oils in, and that is 32 ounces altogether. So now I'm going to go and put this over the stove. I'm gonna do it over medium heat until all the ingredients are melted. All right, so now that my oils and fats are all melted and my lye is here all mixed together, I let it sit and cool. You want it to be about 120 degrees before we go on to the next step. So that can take a couple of hours to let it cool. So just remember to place your lye water in a spot where no children or pets or anybody can get into it, because it could be very dangerous if someone got on their skin or consumed it or got in their eyes or anything like that. So I like to put it up high to allow it to cool. And then once all my oils and butters were melted, I just set that aside as well. And you can check to make sure that they are back down to the correct temperature with a candy thermometer or meat thermometer or something of that sort. So now I'm just gonna put my safety gear back on. So I'm putting on my long gloves here, and I'm gonna also put on my safety or goggles, and then I'm going to use a stick blender to get this to come to trace. Now what that means is I'm going to slowly pour my lye into the oils, and I'm going to blend it on medium with my stick blender until you get like a cake batter consistency. For this recipe, I want it to be a light trace. Now to check your trace, you can pick up your stick blender and let a little bit of the soap drip back down into the soap that's still in the pot. And if it rests on top, that is the perfect trace for this soap. So now that I got my soap to come to trace, this is the point where you can add in an essential oil or a fragrance if you want. I'm going to leave it plain this time, but you can add in about 15 to 20 drops of lavender essential oil. That'd be a great one to add in for this one. And I'm also gonna add in a tablespoon of charcoal. Now, if you ever worked with charcoal before, activated charcoal, you know it can be very messy, which is why I have it sitting on this bag right here. And I'm just gonna lightly stir it in to my soap with a wooden spoon. And now I am going to pour my soap into my molds. Now you can put this into a block mold or you can put it into a single mold. I'm going to pour it into a block mold, and then I'm just going to allow it to harden completely, so about 24 hours. Once it's completely hardened, I will pop it out of the mold, and then I will cut it into little bars. And this is going to be a wonderful soap for the skin. After you get it cut into the soap bars, you're gonna want to allow it to cure for about 3 weeks. Now to cure it, you can just place it on a tea towel, or you can place it in a 9x13 pan. Basically, you want the soap to not be touching each other. Put it in a cool, dry place and let it cure for 3 weeks. That is making sure that all the moisture is out. That makes your soap bar safe to use, and it also makes it last longer because it won't melt or anything when you're using it in the shower. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have a lot of different soap recipes and soap safety and all kinds of things here here on the YouTube channel, so I'll link that whole playlist down in my description box below in case you're new to making soap. I'll have that there for you. I also have some melt and pour soap recipes. So if you're not quite ready to make the cold process soap, you can still make some soap using melt and pour. And I do have a charcoal melt and pour soap recipe as well. So I'll have all of those linked down below, along with the digital scale and the lye and the charcoal and all the ingredients that I use just to make this easier for you guys. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I get out a new video every single week.